Hi, I'm John Kretschmer, sailing on Puget Sound aboard Fathom, a Passport 40 owned by Clyde and Carolyn. They're heading for the South Seas soon, and today we're going to talk about using a 4-spar spinnaker pole to set, to trim, and to douse a conventional symmetrical spinnaker. That's right, symmetrical spinnakers for cruising. They really do work. Most cruisers today carry and fly asymmetrical spinnakers. These are in essence oversized jibs and they're easier to handle. However, there are times you want to go dead downwind, especially when you're running in the trades. Heck, that's what we all dream about. In 17 Atlantic crossings, I'd say the majority of the time you spend running before the wind in light to moderate airs. Those are not great conditions for asymmetrical shoots, but they're perfect for symmetrical shoots. With your easy-to-deploy 4-spar spinnaker pole, setting a spinnaker, a conventional spinnaker, is not as difficult as most cruisers imagine, and the rewards offshore are worth it. The miles just roll away under your keel. Today we have Jack Christensen from North Sails to help us set the spinnaker aboard Fathom. Clyde's going to steer the boat, and Carolyn's going to come up here and work the foredeck with Jack. The ideal way to set a spinnaker is with a 4-spar spinnaker pole mounted on the mast. It easily slides down the track and lowers into position without much fuss. Step 1 is to attach the topping lift before you lower the pole, and then to maneuver it into position. A spinnaker pole is set to windward when raising a conventional chute. 3 lines control any spinnaker pole. You have the topping lift. The main spinnaker pole control line is the after guide. And you have a downhaul, which is also called a foreguide. One thing about spinnakers, it's really important to make sure that when you hoist it, everything's going to fly forward of the boat, including the forestay. After the sheet's in place, you attach the halyard. And in this case, we're going to raise the north sail in its snuffer, which simplifies both hoisting and dousing.
I'll go get the
Just like that, the spinnaker's set. Nothing to it. Now you need to trim ship. The first step is usually to trim the guy, the pole line. You want to bring the pole aft, so in effect square the spinnaker in front of the boat. You'll trim the sheet a little bit later. Remember, a symmetrical chute can fly directly in front of the boat, right off the bow. It just pulls you downwind like dogs before a sled. Squaring up the chute is my preferred way of setting up the spinnaker. However, you're not restricted to dead downwind sailing or even deep reaching. By easing the pole forward and trimming in on the sheet, you can definitely reach effectively with a conventional symmetrical spinnaker. Most cruising boats find it convenient to set up the lead for the after guy amidships. You'll need a nice, clean, fair lead. Remember, chafe is your enemy at all points cruising. The spinnaker sheet is opposite the guy and is led well aft of where your Genoa sheet leads. And typically you use a snatch block on a real stout bearing point to set that up with. Getting the spinnaker down, back on deck, and in its bag is something that terrifies many cruisers. It doesn't have to be this way. With a little bit of technique, dousing the chute can be as easy as raising it, especially with a snuffer. A technique I like is to ease the guy with the pole control line forward and sailing deeper downwind, which in effect collapses the spinnaker. At this point, as soon as the spinnaker loses its air, start pulling in on the snuffer control line and get a bite on the sail. Just like that, the sail will lose all its power. You'll bring the sail in, and once it's in its snuffer, you just drop the halyard and it comes right back on deck.
Here you go, Carolyn.
Okay, with your spinnaker down, the last thing you have to do is put your 4-spar spinnaker pole away. No problem, it stows easily up the mast. That's it. As you can see, setting, trimming, and dousing a conventional spinnaker is not as difficult as most of us think. In fact, the conditions we had today were very typical of conditions the world over cruisers encounter. 10 to 12 knots true, less apparent. You need some muscle and horsepower to sail downwind. You don't want to use that engine. And a conventional chute is what you need to sail efficiently downwind. It's a skill and a technique that should be in every sailor's repertoire, and besides, it's a lot of fun.